Great. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Aviva Stamfer. I'm the Grants and Programs Director at Washington Women's Foundation and your first point of contact for any questions related to grants here at Washington Women's Foundation. Today, we're going to talk about why and how we do what we do here at Washington Women's Foundation and answer questions you may have about our grant process. We're going to present for about 20 to 30 minutes and save the second 30 minutes for your questions. So if things come up as I'm sharing, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end or just track it for yourself in a way that makes sense. We know you probably have lots of questions and we want to answer as many of them as we can. As folks are joining us, please do continue to introduce yourselves in the chat here. I'm always really excited to meet new folks and see familiar names joining us. So, and also for you to meet and see each other. So keep that going. Nice to see so much participation in the chat. All right, well, let's dig into it. Um, so first things first, you might have noticed last week we announced our new strategic direction. So it's hot off the presses here. Our new vision, as you can see here on the slide, Washington Women's Foundation, or WAWF, envisions an intentional community of women of all backgrounds united in building a just, equitable, and thriving Washington. Our new mission is to provide long-term, unrestricted capital, organizational support, and networking to social change efforts benefiting women and girls in Washington state. And as you get to know us, as you get to know the new us, or maybe to get to know us for the first time, I encourage you to take a look at our values as well. Didn't quite have time to go through them all in detail, even though I love them dearly. They are on the website and encourage you to dive in because they really do guide the vision and the mission. And and how do we go about achieving our vision and doing the work of our mission? That's all in the core strategies, which are on the next slide. Thank you, Catherine. So we have three core strategies. We have trust-based informed funding, a member-led structure, and learning and connection. So a little bit about these three core strategies. Our grants are multi-year unrestricted grants. They have a low burden application process, and we also offer capacity building support to grantees. When we talk about member-led structure, I wanted to share a little bit about what makes Washington Women's Foundation different from some of the other foundations that you might be interacting with throughout the course of your work. We really believe in the power of collective giving. And what that means is that our funding comes through the contributions of our members. We have a membership structure. Our members participate on all of our grants committee. They are fantastic. And I hope you have had a chance to meet one. Maybe you know one in your life and you don't even know they're a member of Washington Women's Foundation. But it is what makes us unique is our members, our amazing members. And our grant making model, because it's member led, as you can see on the slide, is inclusive, it's hands-on, it's community driven. We really believe in both the learning of our membership and what they have to offer. And we believe that our members learn more by pooling not just their financial resources, but also their intellectual capital. Each member really brings unique experiences, networks, perspectives, and insights to the process. And that's kind of the magic, the special sauce of what happens in a grant committee itself. And that grant committee is the due diligence team. So they're the ones reviewing your grant applications, making decisions about where our funds should go. Membership in a grant committee is open to any member. And that what that means for your perspective is that the folks reviewing your grants is a mix of people, both with deep knowledge about issue areas and people who might be completely new to the issue and are just getting started and haven't done grant making before. And we think that that diversity makes us stronger. The third piece here on this on our core strategies, before I get too down the rabbit hole of what makes our membership great, is the learning and connection. So that member education that I briefly touched on already is a huge piece of how we operate. We want to be providing opportunities for members to learn and make connections to each other through educational opportunities and collaborative events that strengthen that ecosystem. Okay, so now let's get into grants. Next slide here are our four grant types. So for 2026, this is our foundational year. We are going to be trying 4 different new grants, seeing what works, asking for your feedback many times along the way, and then making sure that it feels right for all involved and establishing it as our new way forward. So here are the 4 grant types. On your slide, I included the elements I thought would be most important for you all to know as folks who might be considering applying to us for funding. And I'll run through them briefly. The advocacy grant, this is alphabetical, as you can see, the advocacy grant is decided by a member committee and then a full membership vote. It'll happen in the fall, and we will award one $150,000 merit grantee, that those funds will be granted out over 3 years, $50,000 a year, plus merit awards. The direct services grant is the decision will be made by a member committee and a full membership vote. That will be happening in spring. That's actually our first grant that we're going to be embarking upon here in March. It will also have one $150,000 grantee plus merit awards. Our grassroots grant is going to be decided by a member committee, and then the final, decision-making process will happen through our pop-up, which is our popular open live collective grant making experience. Hopefully, some of you have attended. If not, I really encourage you to join us in the future. It's truly open to all, and it's a way to get a taste of what it's like to be part of a collective grant making decision. So that's how we'll make our grassroots grants, and that will happen in the fall. And we will award 3 grantees of $20,000 each, plus merit awards. And finally, the 4th grant type we are going to try this year is a place-based grant that will be decided by a committee made up of both members and local community members located in the geographic location. This year we have selected the Yakima Valley. So Yakima Valley folks, take note and reach out if you have questions. And that's going to be happening in the spring, and we will award one grantee a $150,000 grant again over 3 years plus merit awards. Those are our 4 grant types, and we can, if you have questions about that, absolutely happy to dive in, but I want to keep us moving forward to the process, which is different as well. New this year, we are going to be working with Just Fund. If you're not familiar with them, it's a beautiful platform that has a common application. So as nonprofit organizations, you all would make an organization profile, and that would enable you to apply to multiple grants on their platform at once. All you would have to do is some applications have some custom questions, and I'll get to ours in a little bit, but essentially you fill out the profile once, and then you can submit it to multiple applications and update it if you need at any time. Our grant application is going to be open year-round, but we'll also notify you about review dates. So if you think back to the last slide you just saw, there'll be different review dates of when we'll be pulling information from Just Fund and looking at that pool of organizations. So we'll make sure that you know when that review starts so that you can get your application in on time and get considered if you'd like. We'll do an initial pre-screen to assess fit and then pass a subset of applications along to the grant committee to review. Importantly, we want to be moving faster than we have in the past. And so grant disbursement will be fairly quick as soon as the grants are decided and formally approved by the board. So that is our process. Next up, I'm sure you're curious about funding restrictions. I mentioned before, but I want to say it again, that all of our funding is general operating. We know that that is a very important type of funding. It's crucial now more than ever as you look at your budgets and how you build them. So we are firmly committed to general operating funding. There are no restrictions on when past grantees can apply. So if you are a past grantee, jump in at any point. You don't need to have any concern about the last time you were funded or any waiting period or anything like that. When it comes to eligibility, we fund 501(c)(3) or fiscally sponsored organizations with presence in Washington State, whose impact can really be felt here in Washington State. We do typically get more applications from organizations in the Puget Sound region, but we do talk about geography and really think about our entire state as a membership, because it's important to understand some lack of access to fund issues that remain when we look at the state as a whole. We don't fund pass-through scholarships or contribute to endowments, and we also don't fund organizations that discriminate. on any basis. So that's it when it comes to restrictions. Now I want to get into our grant criteria. Excuse me. So this is the criteria we'll use to assess fit for all of our grants. This is new this year to complement the new vision and mission and strategic direction. The full language of the criteria, as well as the rubric we'll be using to evaluate applications, is available on the website. So you can absolutely get in there, take a look at the actual language itself. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how we're approaching the criteria first. So this criteria is really built on what we've learned over the past 5 years. As you can see, our grants are really focused on women and girls that are most impacted by inequity. As a learning organization, this means we're building on that understanding that we have on race that we have built over the past 5 years, as I tumble over my words, even as we apply a more targeted gender lens. So we're thinking about it as a deepening of our equity commitment, a narrowing of our focus. We use the theory of targeted universalism to shape our understanding of how to address the intersectional nature of inequities in our state. We know these things are intertwined and interconnected. In simple terms, when we talk about targeted universalism, that means setting universal goals that can be achieved through targeted approaches. Our universal goal is equity for all in Washington state. And we believe that goal is best achieved by supporting the women and girls most impacted by inequity. There's all sorts of materials online around targeted universalism if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, and we have some links on our website if you'd like to learn more. So, onto the criteria itself. So, we are most interested in understanding how organizations and social change efforts address disparities through targeted strategies that include both the delivery of services to those impacted by inequity and through advocacy efforts. So, it's both. I know that was different as well, so I wanted to make sure to highlight that for you all. So when you talk about advocacy efforts, they're focused on changing systems that have created or exacerbated inequities experienced by women and girls. When it comes to gender, Washington Women's Foundation has a broad and evolving understanding of gender. With our grants, we support women, girls, and gender expansive people, including cis, trans, and non-binary individuals and communities. And I note there that we are growing in this space. We know we are building our gender lens with you as we make these grants together, and we want your feedback on all of this, especially, but on how this lands for you as well. And then lastly, how we're going to make this assessment. We're really looking for organizations and social change efforts that are intentional, that's that intentional there, in their work to improve the lives of women and girls most impacted by inequities. Accountable. You might remember from our past criteria, accountability was really core to how we looked for organizations. So they're accountable to the communities that they serve and demonstrate their ability to achieve those long-term goals of increasing equity and reducing disparities. So we're looking for that demonstrable piece as well. So when you get into there on the website and look at the criteria itself, you'll see the intentional, accountable, and demonstrable in the rubric itself. And if you have more questions on that, absolutely happy to dive in. But there's lots to share, so I want to keep going. A question I am anticipating you might have, in fact, I have maybe received via email already from someone, is this. Our organization has a program focused on women and girls, but our work serves a broader community. Are we a good fit for funding from Washington Women's Foundation? And I put this whole response in there because I think it's how we're approaching it. So I wanted to share it with you all, but we can talk it through a little bit. And if you have more questions, we can get into it. But the short answer is maybe. Because we really are trying to be intentional about this work, right? We are focused on supporting women and girls most impacted by inequities. We know that this work doesn't happen in isolation, right? Like you might be an organization that has a program that works on there, but that's not your main goal. We are looking for, and also this geography piece, so maybe you're the only organization providing social services in your county or in your city or town. And so we know that that is a different context that you're working in. And so that intentionality around supporting women and girls might very well be there even as you serve all. So if you work in that smaller community and your organization is that only source of support for women and girls affected by inequities, yes, you're likely a fit. But we are really trying to be more focused and narrow in part because of our goal. And also, we truly believe that if we can be more specific and clear with our beloved nonprofit partners, then we won't waste your time in applying when you're not going to be a good fit because your time is incredibly valuable. So there are probably other questions on the criteria. We have a full list of FAQ on the website. And if you're interested to read about past grantees as well, you can check that out on the website as well. But I wanted to just pull out this question because I thought it might be on your minds. Um, Next, I wanted to share what you will fill out when you get into Just Fund. You fill out your organization profile. Then you'll fill out these three questions, and they tell you a little bit more about what we're looking for when it comes to the criteria itself. So the first is related to that first element of the criteria around intentionality. So tell us how you provide services to and or advocate for women and girls most impacted by inequities. Tell us about that intentionality, how it shows up in your work. The second is around accountability. So, how is your organization accountable to women and girls most impacted by inequities? What does that look like for your organization? And we have in the full criteria more details around what accountability could look like. But I, again, didn't want to put too much on a slide. Um, the third piece, of course, is about being demonstrable. Help us understand how you know your work works, right? In simple terms, how you know your work reduces disparities and or achieves more equitable outcomes for women and girls most impacted by inequities in Washington state. And we don't want to be too prescriptive about what your answer is. So we want to make sure you know you could share a story, you could share qualitative or quantitative data or any other way you measure your impact. We want to know how you know that your work works. All right. We had to figure out a nicer way to say that for a question. That is it as far as information that I wanted to impart with you. 20 minutes, there we go. If you do want to pop that last slide up, Catherine, it has my email on there. My email's also on the website, so if you don't get a chance to write this down, if you have questions that are you don't want to share in this broad space, absolutely feel free to contact me at any time. But now I want to, let's see what might be in the chat and what other questions you might have. Okay, let's see. And if I missed something, let me know. Okay, right. So a question from Sarah is direct services also over 3 years? Yes, and Maria answered that. So yeah, the answer in case anyone missed it, yes, it is also over 3 years, $50,000 a year for 3 years. And the grassroots grant is $20,000 over 2 years. And they have merit awards offered as well. Can you apply to two different ones? Yes, absolutely. So you will really fill it out once. That was our goal, was to make it a lighter lift for you. So you fill out your profile once, and then we will do that initial review when we're looking at a specific grant. So for example, with direct services coming up, we'll pull all the organizations that do direct services and then use that sub pool to make our assessment. For Yakima Valley, we'll pull all the organizations that are working in Yakima Valley and use that for our pool of grants. So when you apply, you will apply once and then you will be eligible for all different grant applications. If that makes sense. And then what are merit awards? Thanks, Amy. Merit awards are small grant amounts that we give to organizations that reach the finalist stage of the grant process. They will range in size. Right now, we're thinking that there will be at least 6 merit awards that are $2,000 each for at least the first grant. We're still working on the rest of it, but that is our vision and hope to increase that in the future. But it's just a way to say thank you for investing additional time beyond the grant application with our grant process. I'm going to scroll back up and see if I've missed anything, but also feel free to raise your hand, come off mute, put stuff in the chat if you have questions. Let's see. I see a lot of intros, which I love to see, but I don't see any more questions in the chat. Okay, Jen, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Hi, yeah. Going back to the four grant types, that pillar thing that you had, at the top of all of those columns, it says member. I guess I just wanted clarity. Is all the funding available to member organizations, or is that referring to how the funding gets decided and dispersed?
Yeah, great question, Jen, and happy to clarify that. Maybe it would be helpful to put that slide back up. Would that be just while we're talking it through? Um, but I'll go ahead and start answering. So it's the second of the two that you mentioned. The who decides is that
Okay.
top.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyone can submit a grant application. It is open. It is not restricted. That is a key piece of feedback we've heard over the years is that nonprofits really appreciate that we have an open process that anyone can come in. It's not invite only or anything like that. So anyone can join in. And I should mention anyone can be a member as well. So if you are, that's a whole other conversation that we are happy to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone can submit an application. There's no restrictions. I did want to share the eligibility and the criteria so you can make that assessment of if it feels like the right fit for you as you consider your grant, your many different grant applications that I know you're taking part in.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Let's see. And I think we'll get that slide up so you can take another look, but we'll move on to your question, Angie. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. I just wanted to ask, I'm with the organization Dignity Period, and we are, just want to clarify because we're based in St. Louis, Missouri, but we do a program there distributing washable, reusable menstrual hygiene kits. And I just want to make sure that us being based in St. Louis, Missouri, would not be prohibitive to us applying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
So the way that we think about sort of the connection to Washington State is if you have a physical presence in the state, whether that's a staff person, an office, sometimes we'll hear from organizations that are like a nationwide organization with chapters. Maybe they have a chapter in different communities. That works for us. Some sort of physical presence here with work happening here. And then, the grants, if you did get selected as a grant would be still unrestricted, but there would be an understanding that our grant dollars are intended for the Washington State piece of the work, if
Sure.
that makes
Absolutely. So again, just to clarify on that a little bit, sorry.
sense.
So we don't have a physical location in Washington State, but we work through three of our board members that are based there. Would that qualify?
I think so.
Okay. No worries. We're thrilled with the option to potentially take part in the application process. Just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify. So
absolutely. And Angie, if you do want to get in touch, we could kind of get into the nitty-gritty of your particular situation,
great.
and get you a little more direct clarity. But I might have to think about that a little bit as we figure out how to apply it here. Yeah,
Okay. No worries. I'll make a plan to connect offline then. Thank
sounds
you.
good. Sounds good. Okay. A question in the chat from Emil. Can you explain about the rolling deadlines again? Absolutely, because it is new and different. We are all learning together. So the Just Fund application that you'll see, and we can get that link in the follow-up and all that. It's also on our website, but that application is open and will remain open. There is no closing date. So you get in and you really only have to apply once. I mean, I literally set the deadline for 2030 just so it would be like way out in the distance and we wouldn't have to worry about it accidentally closing on anybody. So it's open, apply whenever works for you. We will, of course, be doing these four grants throughout the course of the year. So when it becomes time for the direct service grant to do their review, we will make sure that you know so that if you want to be considered, you can get your application in before that review starts. So, for example, that committee is going to kick off its work this March. So pretty soon you'll get an email in your inbox letting you know that the review deadline is coming up and that if you would like to be considered during it as part of the direct service grant to get your application in. And we'll do that for each of the four grants. And that's how we anticipate this working. Yes, Maria, you coming off mute? You have
Yeah,
something
I
else
just wanted
there.
to clarify one thing. Once
Yeah.
you put your application in, it's in. You can go and fix it later if you want to. 2 years go by and you're like, you know what? Let's update that one. But once you've done it once, we're hoping, you shouldn't have to do it again. That's that's the key with the deadlines, right? It's just to, hey, alert you that if you haven't done it yet and you wanted to be in this one, you should get it in by now. But once it's in, we won't need to see it. We won't need to have you apply every year. It'll be considered because it's a women and girls organization or program, and it'll be considered as we go forward. It's a one and done application in our dreams. We may discover that that doesn't quite work, but our plan is that it will be one and you don't have to, you walk away and we'll let you know if you're being considered that year.
So in perpetuity, once you put an application on Just Fund, you are in consideration for every open grant cycle that you are.
That's correct.
Yes.
That is right.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that.
That's our vision. That we're trying. I mean, we're
That's the
trying,
vision.
right?
Yeah.
We know that the constant application process is a lot, and we want to see if we can not have that happen anymore.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And if we run into, a situation where we really do not have information, we'll reach back out, like I think that will be opportunities to share more if we realize that we have a specific question related to a specific grant, then yeah, there's functionality within the Just Fund platform to reach back out to you and give you an opportunity to answer a specific question or something like that. But yeah, one and done. That's the idea. Angie, is that your hand from before, or do you have another question? I don't want to miss you
Oh,
if you-
nope, that was from before, but thank you. But I do love the one and done. If we could institute that across the board, that would be fantastic.
Well, it's part of the dream, right? We're gonna try it out and then we'll tell everybody else how great it is. But and the other piece about the Just Fund, not all Just Fund grants operate that way. There are other rolling grant applications. Some of them are you apply, but the idea is you fill out your profile once on Just Fund, and then you can use that profile to apply to different grants. And there are several Washington funders on Just Fund already. Shelby, yes. Is there a first review deadline coming up anytime soon? Yes, it is. So that grant committee, the Direct Services Grant Committee, is going to kick off mid-March. And so I can look at my account. I should have had this up. So thank you for the question, but I'm pretty sure the deadline is going to be March 7th, but I'm going to double check that so I don't give you the incorrect information. Yeah, because March 7th is a Saturday. So it's not that, it's March 5th. And that'll go out in communication to you. So you don't worry about tracking all of that. Yeah. And then Amy asked, if you are declined, does your application still stay in the system for the future? Yes, absolutely. Okay, and you could always just check in. Hey, am I under consideration? I didn't get a notification. Where are you at in the process? Like, I do not mind those types of emails and touch points. It's good to know that, you're interested in checking in. So if you want to, always feel free to check in. Okay, other questions? I know this is a lot of new. So truly welcome any question, big or small, either now or later, and appreciate your willingness to try something new with us. We are, we're excited. We're excited to be embarking on this together. Yes, and I will put my email here in the chat so you have it handy. Okay. Kit asked if we put in our application on Just Fund and we would not qualify for any grant, would we be notified? That is a good question. I bet there's a way to trigger that notification on Just Fund, but I don't know for sure. So I will ask them and find out, and I can get back to you if you want to email me, or if you want, I can just put it on the FAQ. Okay, thanks. Oh, great. Thank you, Kit. That's great. It's a good accountability for me. Okay.
This is Angie. Sorry, I did raise my hand one more time, if that's okay.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Come Come
If
on
for
in.
some reason you were to apply and say, for instance, you received a merit award, would that preclude you from then potentially receiving a larger grant later
No.
in the application? Okay,
Yeah, the Merit Award is simply a way to acknowledge the time invested, because we will, depending on each grant operates a little bit differently, but some of them will have additional interaction with a subset of finalists, like a conversation or some sort of exchange of, further information. And so we know that's an additional ask on your time. So we want to acknowledge that ask, even if you don't receive the full grant, to say, here's something to acknowledge the time.
great. Thank you.
Yes, and as Catherine said, we have lots of time for your questions. We purposely built this with more time on the question and then on the information sharing end. So if you do have thoughts on your mind, big or small, we do welcome in it. Yeah, Jen.
Um, this may be a more complicated question to maybe take
Sure.
offline, but we have an advocacy arm of our organization that is part of the organization, but separate for obvious 501(c)(3)/4 reasons.
Mhm.
And so we, is there, and without, I mean, maybe this will be obvious when I get in there, but I think that we're going to want to have a common grant, a just fund account for that advocacy organization
Mm,
and for the larger organization. However, like the EIN number is the same, like, you know what I mean? But we have a separate
right.
budget and a separate small board of directors. And so it's a little bit separate, but also together. Do you know off the top of your head how that would work in the system?
Hmm,
Because one would not necessarily be eligible for all the other
right.
opportunities.
Yeah, I actually think that would be a good question for the Just Fund team,
Okay.
because I'm sure they have come across this before and they have a very robust support system. I think they have a chat, but I think you can also email, I'll put it in the chat. I think it's just support@justfund.org. I
Okay.
can confirm that, but yeah, they're very responsive and probably can give you some better advice than I can.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you.
Mhm. I'm sure you're not the only one in that situation, so thanks for the question. All right. Sarah asked, knowing that every organization's programs and capacities and needs will change over time, I think we'll periodically want to go in and update what we have submitted to Just Fund. I just want to clarify whether that will be easy to do at any point. Yes, it is very easy. When you get into Just Fund and make your account, you have full control over your organization profile and you can update it at any point. They built this platform very intentionally. There are a lot of guardrails around what funders can even ask, which is a good thing. And I think you'll find it easy to use as a nonprofit user and easy to update whenever you want. Or even if, for example, we say, hey, we have the advocacy grant coming in. There might be a point when you want to go in and add something in new related to your work or something that has come up since you filled it out. That's a great time there. Yeah. Well, Gwen, I don't want to call you out, but if you did want to chime in and share anything, you're more than welcome to. Yeah, Gwen is a member of Washington Women's Foundation, but also knows what it's like to be applying for grants and all of that stuff. So anything you want to share at all, Gwen, is very.
Yeah, so I've been working with the grant committees for I don't know 5 or 6 years now, and it's really great opportunity for us as members to learn about new organizations and to have really interesting conversations with our sort of fellow members about the and what in days past what the topic areas or the focus areas were. So I think a lot of the members are really interested in figuring out how this new approach to grant making is going to go for us. And we know it's a year, it's a pilot year, a lot of things we're trying all at once, and we're spacing things out with enough time to sort of learn and make modifications as we go. And the nonprofit community is a really important partner in this because we want to make sure that we are responding to what your needs are and what the needs of our membership are. Because for both of us, we want to be really clear on what the expectations are for you all to apply for those grants and for us to consider those grants and to consider what organizations we're moving forward. And we really want to be clear on what the benefits are, again, for you all who are participating as potential grantees and for the members who are evaluating and reading and learning. So, yeah, so we just want this to be an energizing process, and we're excited to get your feedback, and we're excited to read all of your grant proposals and learn more about you.
Thank you, Gwen. Thanks for sharing. A great example of one of our amazing members. I do see another question in the chat from Jasmine here. Are there deliverable and reporting requirements for awardees, and what does that look like? Thank you for the question, Jasmine. Yes, so we no longer do written grant reports. We used to. Like many, we got rid of that during the pandemic and never looked back. It's honestly been a great push for us to engage with our grantees relationally, to think really creatively about how we can support our grantees beyond the grant dollars themselves. So we actually have a membership committee called our Grantee Engagement Team, whose sole purpose is to build relationships with grantees and find ways to support them beyond the grant checks themselves. And we've done a lot of experimentation over the years trying to figure out what does that support look like? How can we be responsive in that support, and not create additional burden inadvertently on our grantees to come up with ways that we can help them, but to truly be partners in this work. And have one of the new things we're trying this year with that is short-term skills-based volunteering, where we match a member who has specific skills with a grantee that has a short-term project they need support on. For example, looking into sponsorships for their upcoming gala or board development, or even we have someone working on helping to find a new CRM, and sort of a member who's willing to get in there and do some of that research around different CRM options, that kind of thing. So it really ranges, and that's because, and I give you the examples to kind of give you a sense of that range because it's really intended to be responsive to what a grantee needs. I should mention that it's opt-in, so there's no requirement that you participate with the foundation in this way. It's really genuinely about how else can we step in and tap into the incredible network that is our membership, and full of people who are really ready to help and have a lot of different skills. So that's more than what you asked, but I love talking about that piece of the work because I do feel like it's our values in action in a concrete way. And yes, the short answer is no, no written reports.
One of the things that's really nice for members too, I think, is we've started a grantee updates newsletter to members, and I think that goes out monthly-ish. So if grantees have an event coming up, or they're looking for a board member, or they want us to check out a video they just did, something like that, those get filtered through the grantee engagement team, person that's partnered with them, and then that comes out to the whole membership. And it's really great because we get to hear what past grantees are up to, and find new ways to support people. So that's really the nice part about applying to Washington Women's Foundation, is it's not just a couple of people who are making the decision on the grants, right? It's like a whole committee of women in this environment of Washington State who are really committed to philanthropy and committed to the improvement of the opportunities for women and girls, right? So you're not just reaching one person, but you're reaching like a whole committee of women.
So well put, Gwen. Thank you for adding that. Yes. Deb added in the chat here. Hey, Deb. One of the Washington Women's Foundation members is helping to do a website audit for us. Yes, a great example. That is happening through our grantee engagement team. Global Neighborhood is one of our grantees from last year. And yeah, we found a member who had some website expertise and said, yeah, let me chime in and see what I can do to help there. Thanks for that very concrete example, Deb. All right, Jen. How does it impact eligibility for grant funding if a member is also part of an org that is applying for funding? Great question, Jen. Yeah, so we do have a conflict of interest policy, and the way that works is if a member, someone who's a member of Washington Women's Foundation, is on staff or on the board of an organization that is under evaluation, we would have that member not serve on that grant committee. And that's pretty easy to suss out in the moment, moving people around, shifting things so that you're not basically not reviewing your own work. So if that doesn't impact eligibility, we would absolutely not want to preclude anyone from being considered just because they have a board role or a staff role and are in the membership. Yeah, thanks for the question. Okay. Anything else on your minds? Okay, there's a ton more information on the website, including the full grant criteria and rubric. You all have my email. So, oh, thank you, AGEP. Let's see. We have already applied for a grant from a different funder through Just Fund. I assume yes, but are you able to have multiple applications open at the same time? Yes, absolutely. And it is the same profile that you've already submitted there on Just Fund. So all you would have to do to be considered for our grant, since you already have your profile, all you'd have to do is answer those 3 custom questions that I went over, and then you'd be done. I don't think there's any limitation on Just Fund for how many you can apply to. They're very they're trying to get more funding as much as they can. That's really their goal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're very part of why we decided to work with them is because of the way they are set up with the nonprofit experience very central in mind. I think you'll probably feel that once you get in there and start working on your profiles. Okay, well, I will stick around if there's any questions that are easier answered one-on-one, but also feel free to send me an email. We will send a follow-up with some links so that you have it easy accessible, our website and our Just Fund application. But really appreciate these great questions and your time today. And like Gwen said, we're really excited to get to know your work better and to dig in and achieve this vision.
Oh, I
You
do
all-
have one more question. I just thought of something. For the
Absolutely.
application, when you apply, if you have a fiscal sponsor, do you apply under your fiscal sponsor, or will you note that you have a fiscal sponsor and still just under your organization?
Yeah, great question. I believe I can confirm this on Justman, but I believe you put your organization name and then there's a place where you can add in the information about your fiscal sponsor. So it would, you would still have all that information that we would need on our end around who the money goes to, but it would be your profile.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I was wondering, where do we find the rubric? You mentioned there's a rubric online.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just pull that link for you so you don't have to go searching for it.
Thank
And I'll
you.
pop it in the chat. Yeah, give me 1 second because I know where it is and I know we are working on our website. We have found through working on it that we need a new website. Short answer. But anyway, this link, even though it says /priorities, what you'll find there is the criteria and the rubric.
Thank you.
Okay.